welcome back to City and State. I'm Morgan Pehme. We are here at the City and State Hub here at SOMOS 2014 in beautiful San Juan. I'm joined by my good friend and colleague Gerson Borrero and New York City Councilman Antonio Reynoso, who, full disclosure, is also my friend.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I don't tell too many people that except for my friends here at home.
Good, I'm glad.
So, Antonio, you came here and you're a relatively new to the council.
Yes.
What's the experience like being for you to go from a staffer now to being an elected official?
Originally when I first got here, I thought it was very important that I was in every single event. I went to every single meeting. And when I'm finding out that the value of these type of events or this type of forum is ad hoc meetings that happen between council. So far I've had a meeting, for example, with Adriano Espaillat and Ruben Diaz Jr. And in doing that, I was able to have a conversation with them regarding affordable housing, vacancy decontrol, that I really don't feel that, a member from the Bronx, a member from Manhattan or from New York City, and a member from Brooklyn would have ever got the opportunity to have. So I was really, it was a pleasant experience, and to know that could only happen in SOMOS.
And it's interesting you're bringing that up. The cover story in the next issue of City and State, I'm going to preview it for you, it's actually about the upcoming battle in Albany over all of the rent regulations that need to be renewed this year. What are going to be your what are your focal points in trying to shape that debate?
Well, I'm hoping that, to be honest, we have to be fair. It's a Republican-led Senate now. I'm hoping that the leadership within the Senate that is Democratic does the best they can, but it's negotiating. And at this point, I'll be happy if we get whatever we get. To be honest, and I got to be fair.
So you'd be happy with the status quo?
The status quo. I want a slight improvement. I think we have opportunities to negotiate and leverage regarding maybe property tax, but we can't be unfair to our brothers and sisters out in the state. It's a Republican-led state, and we're going to have to do it the best we can, and we got to be patient, and that's what I'm going to be with them.
You're at the City Council. There are some limitations for the entire body.
Yeah.
There's also the normal process of seniority, of being perceived as the new kid on the block. In this case, you have the face to accompany that, and also the age. So how difficult has it been to be taken seriously? For example, you spoke to Senator Adriano Espaillat, you spoke to Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr., who, by the way, at one point was one of the youngest members from our community or ever from New York City to be elected. But how do you go over that hurdle? Also, you're here at SOMOS, where there's a lot of history.
Yeah.
And I think that the conference is older than you are. So seriously,
Right.
So how do you go about for people to take you seriously?
Right. So the first thing I want to get to the history of the SOMOS conference. I think I lost that part when I first got here last year, and I didn't take in what is Puerto Rico. And right now, I really feel like I understand that there's a value to both being in Puerto Rico and also the conference itself. And I'm learning how to find a balance in that, in being able to do the business. But I think there's business in knowing the history of this beautiful location. So that's the first thing I want to say. So the history does precede me, but I'm learning a lot more about how important that is. And then the second part is when I was in that meeting with Adriano and with Ruben Diaz Jr., I did feel that I had things to say.
You keep emphasizing Junior. Do you have a problem with Ruben Diaz Sr.?
No, I don't have a problem with anyone because there's love in my heart, and that's where the foundation of all people is love. But Junior,
a true politician in the making. I mean, he's got the script down.
So I do want to say though that Junior is more in line with how I feel regarding progressive issues than Senior is. So socially, when it comes to socially, so that's why I want to make sure that I emphasize who I'm talking about. But I'm gonna just say Borough President will be on the same page.
If you call him Rubencito, he'll accept it also.
Or Ruben Soto. In the Dominican Republic, when you're big time, you do the Soto. You can't do the Ito. And I'm younger than him, which is why he's talking about being able to relate and to be able to speak in a table where you have Adriano Espaillat, who might be the highest ranking Dominican elected official here in the United States, and Ruben Diaz, who ends up being the borough president, the first Latino borough president.
So was it? But you spoke about housing, and Morgan knows you better, your history in terms of where you guys come from in Brooklyn and the politics of that. But it seems like, what, in 2 years that you were elected, aren't you becoming like very tolerant of what the system? You're saying, oh, we have to respect the majority Republicans. You know, people in your district didn't elect you to become an accommodationist for power.
Right. Yeah,
so where's that gone? Is the fire gone from you? Are you become a regular already?
No, so when it comes to really kicking butt, when it comes the city council, they're gonna get the same thing that they got from the beginning. I think when it comes to the city council, we still have work to do that we're gonna be able to do. When it comes to the state, you know what it is? It's not even a level of tolerance. It's that I think that there's a lot of change that needs to happen there, and I feel like we need elected officials that have the fire that I have in the state, and I don't think it's there. And I'm putting it on camera. There's okay. And I'm sorry, I was about to go into Spanish.
Please speak Spanish.
Okay. Pero the people in the state, I think they've lost the fire. And I think that what happened in the city council when we did this turnover and we brought in this progressive movement, and it's doing what it can. It's not perfect, but the state doesn't even have the movement in it yet. And I feel that in a couple of years, we're gonna see a lot of local young people get in, but we can't do it without finance reform. The finance reform is what has allowed us to get to where we need to. So I had a group call me and say, oh, we're gonna do the DREAM Act, Antonio. I was like, I don't care about the DREAM Act right now. What I care about is finance reform. Because once we, and I wanna make sure that people understand it, it's public finance reform is regarding elections and allowing for our people, what I consider our people, which are low income, mostly people of color, to get an opportunity to run against incumbents that have been in place for a long time. Once we get that, we'll get the right people and everything we need is gonna happen. But until we don't get the right people in, we're gonna keep negotiating the way we are right now. So my level of patience only comes with the fact that I see that a storm is coming, and the state better be ready for it. And I feel like there's gonna be a progressive march towards Albany, and I'm excited about it.
All right, you see, that's why he's my friend. No, well, I wanted to ask you about this, like, Gerson has done a great job in talking to people about the diaspora between Puerto Rico and New York and the United and the mainland, and how we can build those bridges and strengthen that relationship. But I want to talk to you about the relationship between New York and the Dominican Republic. Both your parents are Dominican, and I was taking a cab to El Viejo, San Juan last night, and the cab driver was Dominican. He had been living here in Puerto Rico for 20 years, and he said that he came here because even though the Dominican Republic is more beautiful, which I'm sure that Gerson would agree with, it is not, but he was talking about the economic plight of the Dominican Republic, and that is why he came to this country. And so, I want to ask you, like, what are your, being a Dominican, what do you think that you can do as a New York City councilman to help the Dominican Republic, and how can we strengthen that relationship of the Dominican diaspora as well?
I'm gonna call Nelson in like 20 years when I run for office in the Dominican Republic, so that we can go in together and really bring about reforms. No, you better be ready. No, my thing here is, to be honest, the Dominican Republic is gorgeous in all its ways. Naturally, right? It's beautiful, beautiful beaches, beautiful trees. Right. But when it comes to the government, I do think that we're a ways behind. I think the dependence on American culture and the American system has been something that is put above and beyond all else, and this capitalistic nature to it. So there's like the free trade agreement that they have with the Dominican Republic that I think it hurts more than it helps us. I think long term it might be beneficial, but short term, the Dominican Republic doesn't feel comfortable with doing any work outside of the American community or the American country or society. We're building bridges, we're building schools, we're building dams, we're building roads. All those things are important, but we're doing it at the expense of our self-sustainability. We're going to go in debt. We are in debt. We've grew in the increase in debt for the Dominican Republic has grew exponentially in the last 4 years. What I want to do is see, and if we could figure out a way to be self-sustainable. Why can't we build our own roads? Why can't we build our own schools? What is it that we need to do to ensure that our country could progress without having to depend solely on the United States of America, that it can do it self-sustainable? And I think we're far away from that conversation, but I want to inject myself into those conversations more sooner than later.
But first you have to get to the hump that you have people in Brooklyn that are depending on you to get some things done. You talk about progressive, you know, the word progressive it means a lot of things to a lot of people, but progressive doesn't necessarily mean reforming or
Right.
reforming
Yeah, you're right.
or reformist. So therefore, to me, I see the progressive wave, that you will, that came about,
Yeah.
but I don't see much change. As you know, this is still, I mean, there's some changes in the city council, some structure, but it seems to me that people, you know, they sort of fall asleep and on the floor because, oh, we got progressives in office. But the progressives, if they're just trying to take over for the people that were actually just the status quo, where is the reform coming? I don't really see major reform. You did push through legislation, you've done things in the city council that represent a progressive way of thinking. That doesn't necessarily mean that the reform is going to benefit people that you represent. Now you all got a job that you wanted.
Yeah, we did.
Okay,
we
you did ask for that job. So the priority should be the constituents. And you're a young person, you have a future ahead of you in politics, but somehow you have to deliver. What is it? And I don't understand. Again, I go back to what you said, the Republican Senate. Let me put it to you simple. You're a Democrat.
Yeah, I am.
Do you think that there is a space here in what you now see? Should there be a Latinos Equality Party, just like there was a Women's Equality Party? Do you feel right now as part of the real family of the Democrats, or you feel like you're on the margin or the window looking inside?
So I made a big push to push for the WFP line, to have people vote on the WFP line, because I thought that they took the priorities of the Latino community and made them their priorities, first and foremost. And I didn't, and I was asking people to vote on the WFP line. I do think that we have priorities within the Democratic Party that are going to help my constituency, but it is not a priority, the priority. Immigration reform, which is extremely important. Affordable housing, which is extremely important. And my people don't even know about public finance, right? That's not something that they know, but finance reform. But it is something that I care about and that people know is important to the Latino community or poor communities in general. So I do think that the Democratic Party needs to do a lot better at being able to take the issues that we think are important in the Latino community and make them priority. And I absolutely do not think it's happening yet. We made some promises, or not me, I haven't made promises, but the governor has made some promises in regards to the work that he's going to be doing in the next 4 years that are going to look to address a lot of the concerns that we have in the Latino community. It hasn't happened yet. I have a level of skepticism that comes with being an elected official. And mostly it comes to me, but in my sense, I'm bringing it to the governor. And I hope he does a lot better. But if it doesn't happen, I do think that there needs to be a much clearer and stronger mandate by the Latino community that says we're not going to accept anybody that's not taking our issues and making it a priority. And I want you to have faith in me, and maybe I can say it here in 3 or 4 years, that I'm going to be one of the people that brings that mandate to the front. I've already started with the NYPD in regards to the lack of Latino leadership. 37% of the NYPD, 27% of the NYPD is Latino, which falls in line with the demographics of what we have here in the city of New York. But in its leadership, it's only 10%. I was the first Latino elected official that sent a letter to Brighton or to any police commissioner, letting them know that that's an issue and we need to address it. And I've met with him and we've seen some improvements, but nothing near what we need to see. I don't want to be, but I feel like I've been forced to be the voice of the Latino communities in the city of New York and in the city council and city council issues. And I'm going to make sure that I keep taking that on.
Do you feel, one of the things that Angelo Falcone wrote an article for City and State saying that there hasn't been enough Latino representation in the mayoral administration, that it's disproportionate for the Latino population in New York City. Do you think that's a fair criticism?
Absolutely a fair criticism. I think it's absolutely a fair criticism. And I just want to say, I made a comment before being the voice of the Latino community. I think that Melissa Margarito is making a lot of progress, but we can't have 1 or 2 or 3 people being the voice of all Latinos in the city of New York. We need to have everybody do their part. And that's what I'm saying, is I want everybody to step up and do their part for the Latino community. And it is absolutely a fair criticism of the de Blasio administration. We have more than enough qualified Latinos that can do the work that needs to be done in City Hall. So if we don't find them, I think it's a level of effort from their part in trying to get our people in. Outside of that, I'm going to do my part, and I've had my conversations with the administration regarding Dominicanos. You want to talk about Latinos in general, they're trying to get closer to it. Dominicanos are even less existent. They've made some progress in a couple of positions, which I'm happy to see, but I think we could do much better. And you know what? They're going to hold me to a certain standard in my community, and I got to do the same and hold the mayor accountable to making sure that he hires the Latinos that he needs, the level of Latinos he needs, so that he reflects who we are in the city of New York. And I think he's up for the challenge, and you know, he has 8 years. I'm gonna give him maybe 2 years to get closer. Let's do that. In 2 years, I'll be back.
I'm giving him nothing. I'm not giving him. I've seen too many mayoral promises by different mayors
you're right.
do the same thing, and it's been documented from David Dinkins to Ed Koch, from Ed Koch, David Dinkins, Rudy Giuliani,
right.
Miguelito Bloomberg, and they've all lied to us. If you want to give him that time, you're younger than I am. You're going to be around, and you'll be able to deal. I have one. I just want to point out to you before we exit, because we have other people coming up. We have Keith Wright. We have also Guillermo Linares. So we have a series of interviews. So I'm glad that you took time with us. Just want to remind you, you said 10% in terms of the top brass.
Yeah.
That's better than the Democratic Party, the New York State Democratic Party, which has 0 in its top brass.
Yeah. We don't do ourselves any favors when the Democratic Party in the state isn't getting anything done. Regardless if it's Latino, black, or white, they don't do any work. Nobody wants to go to the state. It's no fun out there. And now it's going to be less fun. So we want to encourage young people to get in there, progressive people to get in there, public finance reform. That's how we do it.
Well, New York City Councilman Antonio Reynoso, you asked us to hold you accountable, and as your friend, I'm going to hold you more accountable than anybody.
I hope so. I'll be more than happy to see my name on City and State. And listen, you got some good people in City and State. They're doing their job, and I'm happy about that, all right?
And we also have Gerson Borrero, too.
Wow.
Despite of me.
No, I like, by the way, you're a joy to my community to watch, to see a Latino being able to speak on New York One and make his presence known on issues that we care about, that are important, and hold no filter. That's what we need more of. And it's easier for me because I really do feel that I got a Latino community that understands my issues. So even though I might politically step on boundaries that might not be, I want to say fair or safe, they got my back. So I'm more than happy to see you here, and I'm happy to be here, able to sit down and talk on right now.
Mucho éxito, te deseamos
El placer
suerte.
es mío.
Y los dominicanos de la República Dominicana dicen, pero ¿quién es este tipo que quiere venir a quitarnos?
Oye,
¿Pero de qué está hablando?
van a saber quién
¿Pero
yo
qué es lo que
soy.
le pasa a este?
Somos, baby, somos. Y, oye, los panas míos siempre en la República Dominicana, aquí es familia, y vamos a hacerlo a ustedes orgullosos. Gracias.